What is going on, guys? It's your boy, Mamaloy, back with another video. So I just hopped into a strongman competition, PA's Strongest Man. It's going to be hosted here at the Lion's Den. We are actually not the promoters for the competition, but it is going to be right here on our home turf, which is awesome. PA Strongest is always a fun competition. So I did not know I was doing this competition. I signed up for a whim when the venue changed to our gym. I literally just wrote my program for it today. Basically speaking, it's 10 weeks away. I'm taking a low stress week this week. Deload week at the end of the program before the comp leaves me 8 weeks to put some genuine strength on in the events for the comp. I wanted to go over how I program things, how a strength coach will go about programming things, specific stuff for strongman, and just give you guys some general tips for programming, and hopefully not that it gets too boring. That being said, programming is programming. There's no real way I can make this super exciting for you guys. I'm sorry. So if you do put me on the 1.5 times speed, I won't judge you this time. First thing you do when you're making a program is you establish your goal. If you're going to a strength coach or if you're making your own program and you don't have a goal, don't bother. This is what decides our rep schemes, our exercise selection, how long a program will be, what the program's all about. If you don't have a goal, you really can't make a program. That should kind of make sense, yeah? The other thing I'll say with this is if you are going to a strength coach, be very specific with them about what your goal actually is. Don't tell them what you think they want to hear from you. So say you just want to be a bigger dude and you're thinking this strength coach admires strength training only. Don't go up and tell them you want to be stronger. Go up and be honest with them. Tell them, I just want to be big. I don't really care too much about my strength. It's going to impact how they make your program. For my goal and how this program is going to be structured, obviously it has PA Strongest Man in mind. I am a lightweight male competitor, and we are doing the frame deadlift 60 seconds, Viking press 60 seconds, a sandbag throw for distance, actually not height this time, which is weird with strongman, a truck pull arm over arm in a tire, and then a barrel carry, specifically barrels, not kegs. At least that's what they said. I don't know. So for the 8 weeks that I have for what I'm laying out for the program, I'm gonna be trying to get stronger at all of these events. This will involve increasing my general strength as well as specific strength and skill in the events themselves. Just going over some basic things that would be different outside of this kind of strongman program. Powerlifting program, you're probably gonna see reduced volume, increased intensity. Hypertrophy programs, you're going to see wild amounts of volume but decreased intensities. Weight loss is usually general strength programs, usually higher in volume just because people think that matters and it doesn't, but whatever. Endurance programs, much higher volume, much higher rep schemes, lower weights. Yeah, that's basically what you'll see. Okay, so here's how my week's gonna be laid out. If you guys didn't know, there's a reason I always wear black. So 4-day strength week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for me. That's just been what I've found works for me. I love a 4-day strength week in terms of how much rest it gives you, how much intensity you're allowed to put in your training. I've messed around with 5 or 6 day weeks for strength. I like that more for hypertrophy, not so much for strength. So 4 has been the sweet spot for me. You might have to mess around with for you. Some people that have, tighter schedules, they have to do 3 days. 4 has kind of been the magic number for me. In terms of my movements, I will always have main movements, which will be at the start of the week, and then supplemental variation movements, which will be at the tail end of the week. So main movements and then variation movements that kind of copy off of the main movements. And I'll show you how I do the rep schemes and all that for after this. In terms of creating a strongman program, regardless of the competition, regardless of your 5 events, the almost always universal things you'll be training for are a deadlift, overhead press, and then quad strength. So just basic quad strength, which could be squatting, could be hack squatting, front squatting, SSB squatting, basic quad strength. Deadlift, overhead press, quad strength. That's what you're always kind of thinking for strongman competitions. General strength in those 3 things will get you really, really far in strongman, and then it's just learning some basic skills for the implements to kind of get you the rest of the way there. This is not the only way program, but this is the way I've been programming recently. Usually 3 movements, and the last movement for the day is just a superset to get some extra volume in quickly. My 2 first movements are kind of my compound strength movements. They'll be in lower rep schemes. The intensity will be increased. I'm really, really focusing in on these guys and getting some solid strength work on these. And then for my supersets, I'm usually getting more of that kind of accessory work in, a bit higher volume, and really building a solid base, solid foundation for these bigger movements. Still taking them to the same intensity as the bigger movements and taking them just as seriously. I think when people get to their end part of programming, they're like, I can just kind of do this however. But you want to attack all of your movements with the same kind of intensity, same kind of focus in your workouts. So Monday is a high bar squat, again, quad focus strength, a strict press, there's your overhead press, dumbbell incline. So bench press in strongman programming is kind of an upper body movement that you can use to get some additional upper body strength that doesn't really mess with your strict press too much. So obviously you're gonna be focusing in on overhead press strength. You can use bench press to kind of add some additional upper body volume in without messing with your shoulders all that much. And then some dumbbell rows from back strength. Obviously back strength also important in strongman, just getting that extra work in there. And then for Tuesday, following up Monday, I've got normal deadlifts, obviously increasing the deadlift strength for strongman, super important. A push press will help me out with my Viking press, and again, just getting additional shoulder work in. Keg carry for that barrel medley, and then leg curls for some additional volume for my legs without stressing out my lower back too much. So that's also something you have to balance in strongman programming, is getting in all of that good deadlift work, getting in, you know, all of that competition work in terms of implements without stressing out the lower back too much over the week. Now you may have noticed that I left my competition events for later in the week, and I'm instead focusing in on my general barbell strength first thing in the week. I've messed around with both styles. I really like keeping my general barbell stuff in the beginning of the week when I have the most energy, because this is usually the stuff where I can load up the most weight and make the most progress in. I've messed around with having the implements and the competition specific events first in the week. I don't really like how it plays out. I feel like I can improve my progress a lot more on the general strength movements than I can on implement movements, which is why I have those later in the week. But I think you can do both, so don't take me at my word that you can only do general strength first, then implements. You can definitely switch around and have your comp events first thing in the week. Which brings us to Thursday. So I've got a camber bar squat here. Again, I just want it to be another quad dominant squat. I really like the camber bar. Could be SSB, could be a high bar squat variation. So 2 count pause squat, tempo pause squat. Yeah, tempo pause squat, tempo squats. Anything that's gonna be quad dominant, help me out there. Any squat variation can go there. A Viking press, so I'm getting into my comp specific events. If I was really far out from an event, this would just be another general pressing day. And then some slingshot bench and pull-ups. Again, just some more general upper body strength and back strength, getting that volume in, building a solid base for strongman. And then finally for Friday, I have the frame deadlift, so my competition specific deadlift. Again, if I was far out from meet, this could be a deadlift variation, pause deadlift, chain deadlift, band deadlift, wagon wheel deadlift, doesn't really matter. Variations are variations. I got another pressing variation, so that's 4 presses for the week. If you are having problems with an overhead press and you're not training it to a high frequency like 3 to 4 times a week, that's probably why. You really got to take it seriously, and in strongman it's super important, so that's why there's so many pressing days in this. Again, some more general upper body strength with close grip bench. I really like the close grip bench just because it translates over to that overhead pressing strength a bit better than normal bench. I don't think it's that big of a difference, but I like it. And then some more quad strength with a hack squat. Not going super heavy on that, just getting that quad strength in, kind of building up that muscle, getting more hypertrophy than anything else there. And yeah. So normally with my programming, this exercise selection would stay the same for a 4-week block, around a 4-week block. And then after those 4 weeks, the exercise selection would change slightly. Usually the competition variations or the main variations in the program stay the same throughout the entirety of the program. So even if the program was 12 weeks long, these 2 days would probably stay the same. These accessories might change and these accessories here might change, but in my normal programming, every 4 weeks, these movements would kind of shift around a lot. And the way I like to do it is as I move block to block to block later in a program, the exercise variations that I select, generally speaking, if I'm going for strength, will be movements that I can move a lot more weight in. So for instance, in the beginning of a program, these variations could be pauses and tempos. And later in the program, they'd be more like reduced ROM motions where I could load up some more weight. So as the program is progressing, I'm going from less weight, less intensity to higher weight, higher intensity. And that's, you know, your basic strength principle. Because I only have 8 weeks to work with, I don't really feel like changing this up 4 weeks in. I'm actually going to run this exact rep scheme week schedule through the entire 8 weeks, which is not normal for me. I think it's gonna work out. I don't think I really need that change 4 weeks in, and I'll still be having fun by the end of 8 weeks, so it's not a big deal. I'm gonna show you my set and rep scheme for the week for the next part, so that makes sense. What I'm considering a main movement is the high bar squat, the strict press are main movement for Monday. The deadlift and the push press are our main movement for Tuesday. My main variation movements will be those Thursday and Friday, the first two for those. So the camber bar squat and the Viking press are gonna be main variations. And then for Friday, the frame deadlift and the pin press are gonna be main variations. Everything else is considered supplemental. People would call it accessory work. I just label it as supplemental. So all these third supersets are gonna be supplemental. And again, this is just gonna make more sense when I show you the set and rep scheme, what I'm talking about. All right, so we have our main goal for the program. We have our exercise selection for the program. We have how many days we're training. Here's the actual set and rep scheme for the program. And I know I've left out the RPE. I'm sorry, that would have been a nightmare for me to draw. So like I was saying, these are all labeled. This is the week for the program. Technically speaking, week 1 is where I'm at right now, which is actually a low stress week. And then week 10 will be a deload week. But this is all of the actual genuine work that I'm gonna be doing for the program. So that's all that's included here. The M is just for those main movements that I literally just mentioned. The V is for those main variation movements that I just mentioned. And then the S is all of the supplemental supersets, just so that matches up with everything in the program. This is a very basic linear periodization program, so there's no undulation going on. There's no crazy stuff going on with the program, and that's generally speaking how I like it. I like a nice linear progression. It's always worked for me in terms of you're starting with relatively high volume, and then as you go through the program, volume's getting a little bit less, but intensity is going up. And this has always been a good way for me to ramp up to higher and higher weights, as well as getting in some good hypertrophy in the beginning of a program. Strongman's a little bit different from powerlifting in that you do need a good combination of high volume and strength ranges for a good program, because Strongman deals with events that are reps in 60 seconds. So you do have to be genuinely good at repping out events as well as genuinely strong. With powerlifting, you just have to be good at a single rep, which is why you'll see singles in powerlifting programming. And generally speaking, a powerlifting program will start around the 5 rep range and then work its way down from there. For my Strongman programs, I like to start with a lot higher volume and work my way down from there. That's a big difference between Strongman programming and powerlifting programming. I have no max events in this competition to worry about. If I do, that's usually when I'll program in singles for Strongman. The other thing singles are useful for is kind of using them as a tester for your readiness for the day. So you'd have a single and then you'd base your percentages for that day off of that single, which is a really nice way to test your readiness. I don't like doing that all the time. Not a super big fan of singles. I usually over push myself on them, so I kind of limit how much I can use singles, but for other lifters, it can be really good. For my main movements, starting at a higher volume, 4x8, working my way down to a lower volume, higher intensity, 4 sets, 3 reps. Again, I don't need to worry about hitting a max single, so working down to some heavy sets of 3 is just fine. I don't need to be down in the doubles and single ranges by the end of this program, and this is just the time frame I've got to deal with right now, so that's all I got. For the variations, I'm actually going to add reps compared to my main movements for the week, so the variations are going to be even more reps than the main movements. Sometimes if I'm dealing just with strength, my variation movements will actually be less reps than the main movements, so that'll kind of roll me through the program progressively in that I'll hit my main movements, and then the variation movements I'll hit slightly less reps, and I'll just be able to creep up the weight throughout the program each day, each week, each block. And that's really how I program up to higher singles. But for this program, I'm just focusing in a lot of quality volume. And then for my supplemental supersets, these are just base, get in a whole bunch of good volume. So we got 4 sets of 10 for 3 weeks, 4 sets of 8 for 3 weeks, and then 4 sets of 6 for 2 weeks. And that's on all the supersets. Obviously there are keg carries in there. I'll change the distance in here, but I wasn't gonna write that on the board. But basically speaking, getting in a whole bunch of good volume on those movements, building up some base hypertrophy so it can help me in these more main movements, in the strength movements that I need. And that's really it. I think a lot of people kind of freak out about this kind of stuff and that they need a super detailed program. It needs to be dialed into 11. Basic linear periodization will work every single time. There is other types of programming, like I said, undulating programs really cool, in which case it can be changing week from week and all that kind of stuff. I tend to like programs that just kind of work their way down progressively. And the final part of the program is just all of the additional stuff that's not your main strength movements, anything extra you might want to do. This isn't the super important stuff, but if you have the time, you fit this stuff in. So arms, no joke, having bigger, stronger biceps is good for strongman. Having bigger, stronger triceps is good for pressing in strongman. So I do train arms directly on Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday, it's literally just 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps on a bicep movement and a tricep movement, nothing super crazy, and I can literally change the bicep and tricep movement if I want to. Friday, we always train as a group. We just have a group arm session that's always super fun, so I don't even worry about setting rep schemes for that. I just get a pump with the boys. Running, I told you guys I've been training running a whole bunch. I'm not gonna change that for the strongman competition. The strongman competitions don't mean that much. You might be saying, Matt, it's gonna steal all your gains. It's no different than normal conditioning sessions. So if you don't wanna run, I'd put in about 2 to 3 normal conditioning sessions into your programming, 10 to 15 minutes, high intensity conditioning, get in, get out, just be ready, be prepped for strongman events. Conditioning is a big deal for strongman. It's a 5-event day. A lot of the events require that you go hard for 60 seconds. So I wouldn't skimp on your conditioning if you are a strongman competitor. Your strength can only get you so far. Something I am adding in that I haven't been talking to you guys about is biking. So I just got my road bike ready to go, and that's going to be in addition to my already existent running training. I am trying to kick up my endurance training quite a bit in addition to my strength training. Don't worry about if it's going to affect my strength or not. I'm going to be the one dealing with that, and I'll kind of report to you guys how it goes. So that's going to be 5 conditioning days on top of my strength training, which is not something I'd say is normal. I'd stick to 2 to 3. This is me experimenting with my training. Finally, I've got the arm over arm pull, which is one of my events, and the sandbag throw, which is one of my events. And I've got them on separate days for my training days, just 2 off days. 1, because they take a little bit of time to set up, and 2, because I don't want them running into my other training. So I want enough time that I'm focused in on my deadlifts, focused in on my pressing, and I'm not worrying about these. So I'll just train these on my off days. They're not super taxing. It's more so skill work with these guys. So that's why they're just on off days. Oh, core work. I don't do direct core work. I get enough with deadlifts, squats, overhead pressing. I'm not super worried about my core. I don't think it's gonna be anything bad for your training. I just think it's additional stuff on top of my additional stuff, which is why I, generally speaking, don't do direct core work. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. In this program, it's not there. If you wanted to add it there, 100% could. I'd do 2 to 3 days and throw it in on a conditioning workout or on your arm days somewhere easy. But again, it's just extra stuff that if you're doing the deadlifts, if you're doing the squats, you're doing the overhead presses, it doesn't need to be there. I kind of went through this really fast. Hopefully all that made sense. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. This is not how I program all the time. In fact, I'd say this is one of my simpler programs. This is just me crafting a program because I have 8 weeks and I need to train. So simpler program, still gonna be effective, still gonna be fun. And I think that's the big thing with programming, is that you're gonna do it and that it's gonna work. Big thing is I don't want you guys to be overthinking this stuff. I think YouTubers in general make programming seem so much more daunting than it actually is. And that's because, well, we got to try and sell this stuff to you. But I think it should be fun. I think it should be less overcomplicated than it is. A lot of the stuff super simple. And again, if you're not having fun with your training, there's not really a point. So don't give yourself anxiety trying to create a program. Do your best, run it through, make corrections as you continue to train. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned a thing or two. Like I said, leave questions in the comment section below because I caught it that time, because I definitely could not cover everything there was to know about programming. So even if it isn't related to my program and you just have a general programming question, feel free to ask me and I'll answer it in the comment section. Hope you all have a great day. Catch y'all in the next one. Later, guys.